Hello, and welcome back to Red Alert Alternative Director's Cut with me, Dr. J. This time, we're going to play Soviet 15, Deceitful Takeover, which is roughly modeled after the Covert Ops mission Deceit, albeit with many, many changes, so that the resemblance is fairly superficial by the time I got done. So the reason that we're playing this mission is not that there were bugs or anything, but because I decided to reinsert some of the original complexity that I had taken out in the version that Ortega played. The original version of this mission was significantly more complicated, and I decided that I had reduced the complexity a little bit too much, so I put some of it back in, and we're going to take a look at the changes here. Now, I didn't put all of the complexity back in, because I think that the original is maybe a little bit over the top, but it is a bit more complicated than the version that we saw Ortega play. Now, it is possible to get this money before the Visceroids come out and kill your commandos. But you gotta be quick. You have to get the money at approximately the same time, because the destruction of either trick spawns the Visceroids. They need to run like the Dickens and cross the bridge before they're able to chase you down. Just like that. You'll notice that the Tiberium is just gems, because I don't have the optional Tiberium graphics installed, so that I can save and reload quite freely. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I guess I'll just call it LP. It's a little lame to be save scumming in my own mission, but it's a tough mission, and I don't want to have to replay it over and over and over again when I'm basically just trying to test if my changes to the mission, which is to say reinserting some of the complexity that I had taken out, was successful. So here is the message that you get when you destroy the first of the radar domes, saying that they seem to be an early warning system. We might want to destroy them before we reclaim the base. Strictly speaking, in the version of the mission Ortega played, you don't really have to do that. As long as you don't destroy the guard towers protecting the base, then it doesn't matter whether you took out the early warning system or not, because it's destroying one of those guard towers that causes the enemy to build the Tesla coils that will wipe out the base. So as long as you never destroy those guard towers, you never have to destroy the early warning system. Because what destroying the early warning system does is it prevents the enemy from building those Tesla coils. I've changed the mission, so now the enemy is triggered to build the Tesla coils as soon as you enter the friendly base that you need to rescue, not when you destroy the guard towers. And there's pretty much no way to complete the mission without entering that base. So now it is required to destroy the early warning system. It is also going to be required to get more money now, whereas in the version that Ortega played, you could get by without really getting much of the money. I hope I don't lose this flame tank. That would actually be really problematic, because there's not a lot that you had to build to win in the version Ortega played. What I've done is I've gotten rid of the Iron Curtain, so now you have to build the Iron Curtain. And as a consequence of that, you're going to need to collect more money so that you can build it. Losing the flame tank was potentially really bad. It may prove difficult to get through some of the obstacles that the rocket guys have to face without the flame tank. I'm going to see if a handful of rifle infantry are enough to deal with the threats that the rocket soldiers are unable to handle. And so now I'm going to send in the commandos to take out the turrets to summon the LST, which the other team requires in order to do their part of the mission. I kind of like the idea of controlling two forces that are totally separated from each other, and that they have to indirectly help each other by taking out obstacles. Like the commandos have to destroy those turrets to summon the LST that the other force requires to move off this area. And then this force has to go to here to take out these guard towers so that the commando team is able to approach that part of the map. That's another thing that, strictly speaking, wasn't really necessary in the version Ortega played. Because again, you didn't need very much money in that version, and all that this does is it leads to money. So by requiring the player to get more money, by forcing the player to build their own Iron Curtain, the player has to complete more of the mission now, which I think is good. Did I really send 3 rifle infantry and 2... I did, and 2 rocket soldiers. Well, I think that's fine. The time limit for this mission is quite generous, so you can afford to be fairly inefficient and still complete it. You don't have to play it perfectly. Because I think that's generally kind of obnoxious when you have to play super perfectly to complete a level. It annoys me that the way hard mode works in Red Alert, Tiberium Sun, is just by changing the stats on the units so that the player's units are really crappy and the enemy's units are better, and the player's stuff is more expensive. That's a really lame and lazy way of increasing the difficulty, in my opinion. I would rather if there were actually difficulty-dependent triggers, so you could change how the scripting works based on the difficulty that's selected, so you can make the enemy behave more intelligently on harder difficulties, for example. That's the kind of way that I prefer for games to be more difficult. And I definitely would have taken advantage of that. Like, for example, if I were allowed to, I would drastically reduce the amount of time available on this mission in hard mode, so that maybe you only have 45 minutes to complete it instead of over an hour, for example. I think that would be a very cool way to have hard mode versus a normal mode. But can't actually do that, so there's no use pining for what doesn't exist. And that's why I never bothered to even test this mod on hard mode, because again, I think the way the Red Alert engine handles hard mode is pretty stupid. And I don't like playing with gimped units and having the enemy's units all be beefed up. I think that's dumb. I'm not one of those players who is real gung-ho, oh, I always have to play on hard mode. It depends on the game. But if anything, I feel like normal mode in most games kind of represents the way the game was meant to be played. So I actually default to playing on normal, typically. But I'll play on hard if I think that there's a compelling gameplay experience to be had there. Again, it depends on the game. Personally, my go-to genre when I want to be very challenged is STGs, also known as shoot-em-ups, also known as shmups. I just think it's a really good way of having a very high level of difficulty in a game that you have to play over and over and over again in order to get really good at it. And in the case of STGs, typically they give you lots of continues, so you can clear the game usually within an hour of buying it. That's not the point of the game. The point of an STG is that you have to play it over and over again to get good enough to clear the game without using any continues. I actually enjoy that, where that genre of game is concerned. So when I really want a challenging experience, that's typically my go-to genre. That's just my personal preference. I would not say that there's anything objectively better about my preference there than anybody else's. Everyone has their likes and dislikes where video games are concerned. So now that we captured the prison, the Forgotten comes out, and he's going to go down here and spawn a signal flare, and then we get a chopper, so we could go to the base we need to rescue. The reason it works that way is I needed to maintain the separation between this team and this team. So I need this ridge here, and that's why the Forgotten actually spawns out of this barracks here instead of directly out of the prison, even though the prison is the thing that you capture. It's a little weird and awkward narratively, but I kind of... Ooh, what a jerk. Did you see how he went out of his way to get off a cheap shot on my Chinook? I'm going to punish him for that. I'm not just going to take that from you. It's going to be tough to kill these flamethrowers with nothing but infantry. But I might be able to do it if they let me shoot them from out of range. Okay, nope. Run. Okay. So, I'm going to do a quick test. I'm going to make sure that my change to the trigger to cause the Tesla coils to spawn when I find the base now, instead of when I destroy guard towers around the base. I'm going to make sure that is in effect. Which means I'm going to do a save here, because that's obviously going to make me lose the mission if it works correctly. Oh, Tanya, you and your laugh. I do like Tanya's voiceovers in Red Alert. They're quite iconic. Although, to be honest, I do like the Tiberian Dawn Commando even better. I think that's very... Dawn Commando is just incredibly cool. But Tanya's still cool. That said, if I were less lazy, I would have tried to dragoon a voice actress into replacing Tanya's lines. Not because I don't like them, but because I feel like her voice doesn't suit the way that I depicted Tanya in the briefing cutscenes. Because my version of Tanya is kind of anime. I feel like her voice, even though it should obviously be kind of a badass commando's voice, if it were to reflect the appearance I gave her, should be a little more cutesy or something. But I was too lazy to do that. I have my limits as to what I'm willing to change and not change. Oh, dang it. Volkov died, which means I wasn't even able to test whether they were going to build their Tesla coils. That irritates me. Luckily I had a save. Let's try this again. Let's not get Volkov killed this time. Let's restart the music. Let's do Radio 2. Oh, the music was already restarting. I'll do Radio 2 anyway. This track is called Katakis Dark Seed from the obscure Japanese shoot-'em-up. Actually, it's not Japanese, this one, I don't think. I think it's made by a German indie team, NG Dev Team, called Last Hope. And I believe the composer is Raphael Dill. I think this track is amazing. It is such an atmospheric piece of music. So here's a random quirky thing about me. I don't listen to any popular music. And I don't mean by that the genre of music known as pop. I basically mean none of the music that other people listen to do I listen to. In general, I listen to very little music that has vocals at all. I mostly listen to soundtracks, especially video game soundtracks. I think that the quality of music in video games is actually unbelievable. Unbelievably good. And this particular track is one example of that. Listening to this track makes me imagine so many cool stories and that kind of thing. I'm beginning to wonder if the enemy's really going to be building those Tesla coils. I hope they're just being slow. Or maybe Maybe my attempt to update the trigger failed. Okay. I got Tanya killed by moving her too close to the guard towers. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. Because this is embarrassing.
Insufficient funds.
I'm just going to reveal the base, that I'm going to stop moving anybody around at all, because that's just getting people killed. And now I'm going to turn the game speed way, way, way up, because I'm tired of waiting. And so much for Katakas Darkseed. I don't feel like playing, specifically picking it out of the jukebox and playing it again. Alright. Let's crank the game speed up. Wait a couple minutes. Enemy should be building some Tesla coils pretty soon. If not, I need to look at the triggers and figure out what I failed to update correctly. Or it might even be possible that I was dumb and just forgot to copy the updated mission file into the Red Alert folder. That has happened before. More than once. I am having severe doubts at this point. I don't think those Tesla coils are coming. Okay, what did I mess up? Just to confirm, let's see what happens if I build... How much money do I have? I need to get at least one more. No, the Tesla coils definitely aren't coming. I messed something up. Alright, I'm going to stop the recording here and go see exactly what went wrong. Be right back. Okay, I replayed through the mission back up to the point where we had left off. In fact, I played it a little better this time. My flame tank survived, for example. I looked at the triggers. I couldn't find anything wrong with them, actually. But the one potential gotcha is the trigger was a discovered by player trigger on a building belonging to the player. Maybe the Red Alert engine just doesn't accept that. Because it is a little odd, you have to admit. Discovered by player on your own building. So I changed it, so now it's just a bunch of cell triggers completely surrounding all the entrances into the base. So now, if a unit belonging to the player enters any of those cell triggers around the base without having first destroyed the early warning system, it should trigger the production of the Tesla coils. Let's see if that in fact happens now. Good, there they are. Now the player's base will get destroyed by the Teslas. And the position is basically unwinnable from here. I can't think of a way that you could win the mission if your base just gets destroyed before you're able to produce anything. So that should be game over, so good. That change now works. This is what playtesting and debugging is like, by the way. Oftentimes, things will just not work, and it won't be clear why. And sometimes you just kind of have to spitball things until you manage to get it to work. This is less true if I am playtesting an engine that I wrote myself, because obviously then I have full knowledge of everything about how it works. I mean, don't get me wrong, debugging your own program can still be extremely difficult, as any software developer will tell you. I'm not saying it can't. But it's a different kind of situation, because where Red Alert is concerned, I just have to guess how the engine works a lot of the time, because I've never looked at the source code, so I can't just look it up and say, oh, that's what's going on. So it is a bit of a black box, essentially, is the way you could think of it. Trying to test a black box can be challenging. So you're getting to enjoy that experience with me and kind of see how it goes. So now that I have verified that that works, I next need to verify that Destroying the early warning system. Oh god. Kill them. Good. I next need to verify that destroying the early warning system still shuts that off. It should. I didn't change anything about that, but you gotta test this stuff to be sure. Don't want to make assumptions. Also, I want to make sure that the new approach to how you have to clear the mission works out the way I want it to. Okay, so I don't think I actually need this money crate here, because I tried to set the amount of money you need to clear the mission the intended way such that you have a small amount of leeway, so you don't have to get every single money crate, but that you have to get most of them. I'm going to see if I still have enough to get the job done, even if I bypass that truck, because I don't really feel like dealing with this infantry spawn and having to blow down the guard towers with my rocket soldiers and then get the barracks with my commandos and all that jazz. Okay, it said objective met, so it should have destroyed the trigger that spawns the Tesla coils. Technically, what it actually does, the way it works, if you're curious, is it uses the base section that we discussed previously, where you can pick one faction and tell them a base layout to create, and the Grease faction, which is one of the blue factions, is set to create 2 Tesla coils there, but their production isn't turned on. And so even if you have defined a base layout, they won't build anything. An AI player won't build anything if their production is turned off. And what happens is their production gets turned on by this cell trigger. But the cell trigger is now, hopefully, disabled. There's that bug where, stop it, loading a unit of type General into a Chinook causes it to take off. It's not exactly a bug. That is intended behavior by Westwood, but I think you're supposed to be able to turn it off by setting civ evac equals no, but that just doesn't work when I do it. So I think there might be a bug in that it isn't turned off, can't be turned off the way it's supposed to be.
New construction options.
I'm going to use the engineer to do the golden repair. Start fixing up these power plants. And I need to build an iron curtain. And actually, it costs 2,800, and I have over 5,000 from collecting, I think, all but one of the money crates. So I think I have even more leeway than I intended. But that's okay, because you still need to collect at least 3 of the money crates to have, maybe even 4, because you also have to build an engineer to capture this. That's irritating. I do think it's bad mission design on my part, how you kind of can't even tell that these exist without getting up into range of them. It would be a little hard to fix that, though, because the sheer number of cell triggers I'd have to put around to do a reveal here is very high, and I try not to strain the red alert engine, and I don't know how it would react to an extremely large number of cell triggers. Maybe not well. Waiting on the iron curtain.
Construction complete.
And the Tesla coils clearly are turned off, so that part of the mission works. Now, I'm just going to wait for this to charge up so that I can do the commando drop. Because one thing that I didn't change, the original version of this mission, the command center you have to destroy was better guarded. So the commando drop strategy didn't really work. And what you actually had to do was build an SSM launcher, iron curtain it so it could survive the enemy's defenses, their Tesla coils and stuff, and drive the SSM launcher into range of their command center and blow it up while it was invulnerable. When I mentioned that, Ortega said he's glad that I changed it so that's not how the mission works, because he never would have figured that out. I'm taking that feedback into consideration, and I'm leaving that requirement out still. So that's one bit of complexity I'm not putting back into the mission. So I'm making it so the commando drop strat still works. I do need to reveal the enemy's command center in order to do the drop, though. The SSM launcher strategy is also potentially viable. I think I might need a little more. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Is that going to cause me to lose? Phew. That bug. That bug, man. That almost cost me the mission right there. I think I might need a little more money if I wanted to do the SSM launcher strategy. But it should still be viable. I think I would just have to get this. Well, maybe not if I sold things. I think if... Yeah, because I built my... Well, I need the Iron Curtain. Can I forget. Is the construction area sellable in this mission? No. There it is. Okay. Now, what I might do, though... I might build... Oh, that's right. I was going to say I might build an allied barracks so I can make a medic, but I'm Soviet. Duh. I can't do that. So I'm just going to have to deal with the fact that Tanya is low on health. Shouldn't matter. Alright. Let's not just sit here waiting for this thing to charge at a low game speed. Let's crank it all the way up. Ordinarily, the Iron Curtain charge is much faster than this in this mod because I cranked its charge speed up, but I deliberately made it slower for this mission so that if you're extremely slow capturing the base, recapturing the friendly base, you might not have enough time to do the Iron Curtain strategy.
Select target.
So it kind of makes the time limit a little tighter than it appears to be. Maybe that's a little bit of a dick move game design wise, I'm not sure. It might be. Deliberately put it down in range of a Tesla coil, so a Tesla coil acquires it as the target and not Tanya. Blow up the comm center. Mission accomplished. So the mission's a little more complex now, because you have to get a bit more money, and you do have to destroy the warning radar domes. Otherwise, the enemy builds their Teslas as soon as you reveal the base. So I like that. I think this is a good level of complexity for the final puzzle mission of the game. There's a similar mechanic in the Covert Ops mission Deceit, where the way that I always cleared Deceit is I just cheesed the heck out of the fact that in Tiberian Dawn the AI is too stupid to deal with walls, and I'll just wall off my side of the map so that I could build up in peace, because the mission seems nigh on impossible any other way. Apparently, you're actually supposed to be able to prevent the enemy from immediately destroying you when you find the base in Deceit by destroying all the comm centers scattered around the map, much like in this map that's loosely based on that. You have to destroy the radar domes to prevent the enemy from building the Tesla coils. The difference is, at least I provide a hint that that's the solution, because if you experiment and destroy one of the radar domes, it pops up the text saying, this is an early warning system. We should probably destroy all these before we recapture the base. Whereas in Deceit, there's zero indication that you're supposed to destroy the comm centers before you recapture the base. And that's not a mechanic that ever existed in any mission up to that point. So I feel like that level of obscurity in puzzles is a little unfair. So I try to provide a little bit more signposting for my puzzles than that, because I never in a million years would have figured out the way that you're supposed to clear Deceit legitimately. Anyway, that does it for this video of regular alternative director's cut. So I will see you all next time. Have a good one.